Hello and welcome to Exploring Christianity, A Journey of Faith. I'm really excited about the two-part series we're starting with this video. We're going to cover the entire storyline of the Old Testament from beginning to end. We'll do so by looking at humanity's performance in terms of our obedience, or lack thereof, as if we were a corporation. In the beginning, on day 6 after the beginning, God, our chief everything officer, formed the Humanity Corporation and really blew life into the company. In God's own words, it was very good. God established Adam and Eve as co-leaders of this new enterprise, giving them dominion over the new creation. At first, everything was in harmony, but sometime later there was a failed takeover attempt when Adam and Eve put their own interests over those of the overall enterprise. This caused a dramatic drop in goodness from which humanity has never fully recovered, and it also seriously damaged relations with God. From that time until the present day, God has been on a mission to restore Humanity Co. to its original promise. Even after being kicked out of its original home, humanity continued to go downhill. First, there was a murder in the founding family when Cain killed his brother Abel, followed by other murders and mayhem until the company was in complete chaos. Humanity became thoroughly evil. When it was clear there was no chance of recovery with the current staff, God used a flood to clean house, retaining the only remaining loyal man, Noah, and his family. While this fresh start again raised humanity's goodness level, it was very hard on the rest of the staff, and God promised to never do this again. With this reboot, things got better for a brief while, but even Noah ultimately made some bad decisions after a bit too much to drink. God gave Noah instructions for Humanity Co. to be a distributed organization spanning the globe. As the company grew, however, they started rebelling against God's mandate for the company, preferring to be consolidated in a single location at the Tower of Babel in Babylon. The staff there put their own ascendance over the overall good of humanity. Again, humanity's goodness level dropped. As things continued to decline, God mixed things up and shifted staff around the globe to get things back on track. Despite these efforts, things really did not get better until God steps in yet again and selects one man, Abram, whose name was later changed to Abraham, to restore humanity to its original glory. Leaving the rest of humanity largely to its own devices, God promised Abraham that he could build a team that would grow into a mighty power, and that through watching them, the rest of humanity would get back on the right path. God promised to personally lead this group and guaranteed their success if they in turn would commit to following God's instructions. Abraham is remembered as faithfully following God. Abraham and his team moved forward fairly well for a time, though there were definitely some performance ups and downs with Abraham and his immediate predecessors. After a few generations, Jacob, whose name was later changed to Israel, started grooming his 12 sons and grandsons to each take over an area of his expanding operations. From this time forward, the 12 tribes of Israelites became a wholly owned subsidiary, with God at the helm, operating within Humanity Co. There were predictions of a strong future for the Israelites. Soon thereafter, however, the Israelite brothers executed a hostile takeover when the other brothers sold Joseph out without their father Israel's knowledge. While this initially appeared to be a bad thing for Joseph's interests, God intercedes again and raises Joseph to a position of power in the Egyptian government. Joseph forgave his brothers, and his position with the Egyptians allowed the Israelites to later receive a bailout at a time when they were literally starving for business. Unfortunately, this initial goodwill between the Egyptians and the Israelites did not last, and after a period of time, the Israelites were virtually slaves to the Egyptian government. This was a bad time for the Israelites and their mission to be a guide for the rest of humanity. When it was clear they could not get themselves free from this entanglement, God steps in and sends Moses, a disgruntled former employee of the Egyptian government, with a set of demands. After a series of brutal negotiations, the Israelites were ultimately released from their contract and were free to start over, and things once again were trending good. To avoid having the Israelites make the same mistakes again, God pulled Moses into an off-site meeting to outline the ground rules that the Israelites were expected to follow. These ground rules, known as the 10 Commandments, were very good. But before the 40-day off-site was even over, the Israelites were already rebelling against God, who had just saved them, and they had already begun offering their allegiance to someone else. This was a very bad moment for humanity. God made them aware of the error of their ways, and the Israelites repented of their folly and agreed to follow God's newly published company policies, a very good move. God renewed God's promises to the Israelites and began leading them to their new headquarters in the Promised Land. But just as they were arriving, the Israelites had a vote of no confidence, making it clear that they feared that God could not deliver on God's promises, despite everything God had done for them. God realized that there was no way this band of misfits could deliver on their mission to set the example for the rest of humanity without some serious coaching, and so God put them through an extended 40-year desert boot camp and training program to teach them and whip them into shape. While this was a very good idea for the Israelites, they whined the whole time and frequently ended up on punishment detail. But eventually, they were ready to enter the Promised Land. This was a great moment for humanity. The first thing they needed to do was to remove all of the evil influence from their new headquarters, so they did not fall under its sway. This was a brutal time that even many of God's biggest proponents struggle to understand when looking back at this time in the company's history. The Israelites still struggled with periods of disobedience to the agreed-upon ground rules, but ultimately God delivered on all of God's promises. You would expect all to be smooth sailing for the Israelites from that time forward. God even handpicked strong people to provide the day-to-day leadership for the Israelites, called the judges, to further eliminate issues. But we know that this peace did not last, and we'll see in part 2 what happens next. What potential issues can you foresee based on the story so far?